St. George, a name that echoes through the centuries, full of mysteries, legends, and unshakable faith. Have you ever stopped to think why he is so celebrated, even in such different cultures and religions? Or what really lies behind the story of the dragon, which everyone knows but few understand? Perhaps you have also heard of him as a symbol of courage, but you never imagined that his real life is even more impressive than the legends. If you think you know St. George, prepare to be turned upside down. This is not just a story about a saint or a warrior. It is a powerful tale of faith, hope, and the tireless fight against everything that challenges our trust in God. Let's explore together the true face of this man who has traversed the ages, inspiring millions with his wisdom and perseverance. After all, who better to teach us about strength and faith than someone who has faced real and imaginary dragons? St. George is more than a saint. He is a symbol of courage, faith, and perseverance. Celebrated on April 23rd, his importance transcends the borders of the Catholic Church, reaching different cultures and beliefs around the world. Many see him as the divine force that fights adversity. In fact, some say that praying with hope and trust on the day dedicated to him can renew faith and bring spiritual protection. His figure is seen as a shield against life's challenges. It is curious to think how such an ancient figure still inspires modern people. But it is not just about religion. It is about how he unites different people through a message of trust and resilience. No matter your belief, he invites us to reflect. Where is your faith when challenges arise? The famous story of St. George and the dragon is full of mysteries and metaphors. Many believe that he really faced a ferocious creature, but in fact, this narrative is an allegory created in the Middle Ages. The dragon represents evil, challenges, and even temptations that try to distance human beings from their faith. St. George, with his sword and shield, symbolizes a daily struggle to remain firm and trusting in God. Imagine your own battles. Isn't it curious to think that we have our own dragons to face? This legend also carries a strong spiritual symbolism. The fight against the dragon is, in fact, an invitation to reflect on each person's internal struggle. The dragon can be seen as fear, doubt, or lack of hope that insists on dominating us. It is like facing that problem that seems impossible to solve. At these times, remembering the story of St. George can bring wisdom, facing it with courage, faith, and the certainty that God is by our side. But why, then, has this legend gained so much strength? The answer lies in the power of stories. They teach us, inspire us, and create deep connections. For centuries, the legend of the dragon has been used to teach Christian values of perseverance and hope. And just as St. George faced what seemed invincible, we are called to do the same. Now, was his life just a legend, or is there something more real behind the story? St. George is not just a legendary figure. He was a real person with a remarkable trajectory. Born in Cappadocia, a region that is now part of Turkey, he grew up in a simple but faith-filled environment. After his father's death, his mother took the family to Palestine, where he was educated in Christian values. From a young age, George demonstrated courage and trust in God, characteristics that would accompany him throughout his life. Have you ever stopped to think about how the environment in which we grow up can shape our faith and values? After joining the Roman army, George quickly rose to prominence. He became one of the Praetorian Guards, the military elite that protected the emperor. Despite his prestigious position, he did not let it weaken his faith. In a world where power seemed to be the greatest virtue, he chose wisdom and trust in God as his main weapons. It is inspiring to see someone who, even surrounded by temptations, remained firm in his principles. How can you bring that same strength to your daily life? The life of St. George teaches us that true heroism lies not in material achievements, but in the ability to live with integrity. He did not seek personal glory, but used his position to do good and spread hope. He is an example of how our faith can be a light in the midst of the responsibilities and challenges we face. But how did someone so faithful deal with one of the darkest periods of his life? Imagine standing before the most powerful emperor in the world and still refusing to deny his faith. That is exactly what St. George did when summoned by Diocletian. He knew that declaring himself a Christian at that time meant signing his death sentence, but his hope in God kept him steadfast. This unshakable courage did not come out of nowhere. It was built over years of trust and prayer. Have you ever thought about how you can strengthen your faith to face life's challenges? Diocletian tried to seduce George with promises of wealth and pleasure, all in order to make him abandon his faith. But George, with wisdom and courage, responded that his true wealth was in heaven. He is a powerful example for us who are often tempted to abandon our values for momentary rewards. He reminds us that what really matters is living in harmony with our principles. The next time you are challenged, how can you remember this example and choose what is right? St. George's response left everyone around him perplexed. His firm stance not only inspired other Christians, but also planted doubts in the hearts of many who persecuted him. In times of darkness, his faith was a light that shone even brighter. But this resistance brought severe consequences. How did he face suffering and continue to spread God's message? When St. George was arrested, he knew that his martyrdom would not be an end, but a testimony of faith. He was subjected to unspeakable tortures, as if they were trying to tear from him his trust in God. Yet the strength he demonstrated can only be described as divine. Have you ever stopped to think about the courage it took to endure so much pain without giving up on your convictions? His resilience is a powerful reminder that faith can sustain us even in the worst of times. The impact of his faith was not limited to him. It is said that, upon seeing him endure such pain with serenity, the wife of the emperor himself converted to Christianity. It is as if the light of God, reflected in St. George, illuminated even the most hardened hearts. It is an invitation to reflect. How can our actions inspire others? Perhaps we are not facing physical martyrdom, but how can we spread hope and faith through our daily choices? Even in the face of imminent death, St. George continued to preach and live as an example of virtue. He proved that faith is not just something we believe, but something we practice in times of adversity. His story challenges us to think, have we lived with enough wisdom and faith to make a difference in the world? And so, his martyrdom becomes a bridge to an eternal legacy. The title of martyr, which means great martyr, was not given to St. George by chance. It symbolizes the excellence of his faith and courage in the face of a cruel fate. Among Eastern Christians, St. George is a figure of deep reverence, someone who transcended the barriers of time to become an eternal example. It is curious to think how a single act of fidelity can echo through generations, inspiring millions to trust in God even when life seems bleak. In addition, St. George is part of a select group of 14 holy helpers, venerated for their powerful intercession in times of need. When we face challenges that seem insurmountable, remembering St. George's unwavering faith can bring unexpected comfort. Perhaps it is in silent prayer or in that moment when we bend our knees asking for wisdom that we find the strength he personified. How do you deal with your daily struggles? Are you seeking help in the right place? His title, more than a recognition, is an invitation. He challenges us to live in a way that will make us known for our own faith and trust in God. Like St. George, we can be living examples of hope, even if on a smaller scale. And this greatness that he represents is not far from us. It is in the small acts of kindness and faith that we cultivate every day, showing that, like him, we are called to something greater. The legend of the dragon associated with St. George is one of the most fascinating, but also one of the most symbolic. In the Middle Ages, stories were used as metaphors, and the dragon, in this case, represented the evil and temptations that plague humanity. St. George's battle against this mythical creature teaches us that, with faith and wisdom, it is possible to overcome even the greatest challenges. Imagine the scene, a courageous knight, mounted on his horse, facing what everyone fears. Isn't this an inspiring image of the challenges we face in life? This narrative, although it has no historical basis, gains strength precisely because it represents the constant struggle of good against evil. Just as St. George faced a dragon, we are called to face the dragons of life. Discouragement, lack of hope, doubt, and faith. A practical example? Think about how you react to adversity. Instead of retreating, you can, like St. George, raise a sword of confidence and move forward with determination. A daily prayer can be the beginning of this transformation. This legend grew in popularity during the Middle Ages, but its essence remains alive today. The dragon may not be real, but what it symbolizes is present in our daily lives. The message behind this story prepares us for the next point. Understanding how the symbolism of St. George can shape our spiritual life and help us win any battle. St. George, in his fight against the dragon, became an icon of courage and faith for the Christian life. This battle represents much more than a physical combat. It symbolizes a daily struggle against the forces of evil, temptations, and difficulties that test our faith. Just as St. George raised his sword with confidence in God, every Christian is called to face their own challenges with the same determination. Have you ever thought about how prayer can be your greatest weapon in this battle? Set aside a moment of your day to seek this divine strength. The dragon, which seems invincible, is a representation of everything that diverts us from God's path. Fear, anxiety, doubt. St. George shows us that, with wisdom and trust in divine providence, we can overcome any obstacle. For example, when life seems to be falling apart, instead of giving up, you can strengthen your hope by reading biblical passages such as Psalm 23. Trusting in God is a shield that protects against the attacks of discouragement. This struggle is not a solitary one. It is an invitation for every Christian to strengthen their faith and live more fully. The image of St. George defeating the dragon inspires us to persevere and to remember that there is always light, even in the darkest moments. After all, the story of St. George is proof that victory always belongs to those who trust in God and walk wisely towards good. Now that you've delved into the true story of St. George, it's impossible not to ask yourself, how can this example of faith, courage, and perseverance transform your own life? In times of difficulty, have you chosen to trust in God like St. George did? Or have you given in to fear? Remember, true strength comes from unshakable faith and divine wisdom. So, how about taking a step now? Start applying this trust in your daily life and see how it can change the way you face challenges. How about sharing in the comments what you learned and how it can impact your journey of faith? And to continue learning more about this and other topics, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Let's go on this journey of growth and transformation together.